Capitalization. Text messages, casual emails, and instant messages often ignore the rules of capitalization. In fact, it can seem unnecessary to capitalize in these contexts. But in other, more formal forms of communication, however, knowing the basic rules of capitalization and using capitalization correctly gives the reader the impression that you choose your words carefully and care about the ideas you are conveying. Capitalize the first word of a sentence. Correct. The museum has a new butterfly exhibit. So you capitalize the first word. You capitalize proper nouns. Proper nouns is the names of specific people, places, objects, streets, buildings, events, or titles of individuals are always capitalized. So incorrect, he grew up in Harlem, New York. And so here, when it's a place, you have to capitalize places. The Sears Towers in Chicago. So this is the name of a place. And so you have to capitalize the place, names of buildings, places, events. So the Sears Towers in Chicago has a new name. Do not capitalize nouns for people, places, things, streets, events, and titles when the noun is used in a general or common way. Refer to the following chart for the difference between proper nouns and common nouns. So a common noun would be like museum. Proper noun, the Art Institute of Chicago. Common noun, theater. Apollo Theater. Proper noun. Common noun, country. Proper noun, Malaysia. Common noun, uncle. Proper noun, Uncle Javier. Common noun, doctor. Proper noun, Dr. Jackson. Book, Pride and Prejudice. College, Smith College. War, the Spanish-American War. Historical event, the Renaissance. So whenever you make the noun more specific, that becomes the proper noun. So the easiest way to remember is uncle and Uncle Javier. So if you just say, my uncle comes to visit, which uncle? So that's a common noun. You don't have to capitalize it. If I say that my Uncle John comes to visit, then it's specified, it's a proper noun, and you have to capitalize it. Capitalize days of the week, months of the year, and holidays. On Wednesday, I will be traveling to Austin for a music festival. So you capitalize Wednesday. The 4th of July is my favorite holiday. And so you capitalize 4th of July because it's a holiday. You capitalize titles. The play Fences, which is capitalized by August Wilson, which is also capitalized, is one of my favorites. The President of the United States, you have to capitalize a title. The President of the United States will be speaking at my university. Did you know that if you use all capital letters to convey a message, the capital letters come across like shouting? In addition, all capital letters are actually more difficult to read and may annoy the reader. So to avoid shouting at or annoying your reader, follow the rules of capitalization and find other ways to emphasize your point. Key takeaways. Learning and applying the basic rules of capitalization is a fundamental way of good writing. Identifying and correcting errors in capitalization is an important writing skill. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is chapter 13, and we're going to review basic punctuation. Commas. One of the punctuation clues to reading that you may encounter is the comma. The comma is a punctuation mark that indicates a pause in a sentence or a separation of things in a list. Commas can be used in a variety of ways. Look at some of the following sentences to see how you might use a comma when writing a sentence. Introductory word. Personally, comma, I think the practice is helpful. Lists. The barn, comma, the tool shed, comma, and the back porch were destroyed by the wind. Coordinating adjectives. He was tired, comma, hungry, comma, and late. Conjunctions in compound sentences. The bedroom door was locked, comma, so the children knew that mother was asleep. Interrupting words. I knew where it was hidden, comma, of course, comma, but I wanted them to find it themselves. Use commas with dates, addresses, greetings, and letters. The letter was postmarked December 8th, 1945. You may notice a comma that appears near the beginning of a sentence, usually after a word or phrase. This comma lets the reader know where the introductory word or phrase ends and the main sentence begins. Without spoiling the surprise, comma, we need to tell her to save the date. In this sentence, without spoiling the surprise is an introductory phrase, while we need to tell her to save the date is the main sentence. Notice how they are separated by a comma. When only an introductory word appears in the sentence, a comma also follows the introductory word. Ironically, comma, she already had plans for that day. When you want to list several nouns in a sentence, you separate each word with a comma. This allows the reader to pause after each item and identify which words are included in the grouping. We'll need to get flour, comma, tomatoes, comma, and cheese at the store. The pizza will be topped with olives, comma, pepper, comma, and pineapple chunks. You can use commas to list both adjectives and nouns. A string of adjectives that describe a noun are called coordinating adjectives. These adjectives come before the noun and they modify and are separated by commas. One important thing to note, however, is that unlike listing nouns, the word "and" does not always need to be there before the last adjective. It was a bright, comma, windy, comma, clear day. Our kite glowed red, comma, yellow, comma, and blue in the morning sunlight. Commas before conjunctions and compound sentences. Commas are sometimes used to separate two independent clauses. The commas come after the first independent clause and is followed by a conjunction, such as for and or, fanboys, for and but or nor so yet. He missed the class, comma. He missed class today, comma, and he thinks he will be out tomorrow too. He says his fever is gone, comma, but he is still very tired. So you always use a comma before fanboys. In conversations, you might interrupt your train of thought by giving more details about what you are talking about. In a sentence, you might disrupt your train of thought with a word or phrase called interrupting words. Interrupting words come at the beginning or middle of a sentence. While the interrupting words appear at the beginning of a sentence, a comma appears after the word or phrase. If you can believe it, comma, people once thought the sun and planets orbited around Earth. Luckily, comma, some people question that theory. When interrupting words come in the middle of a sentence, they are separated from the rest of the sentence by commas. You can determine where the commas should go by looking for the part of the sentence that is not essential for the sentence to make sense. An Italian astronomer, comma, Galileo, comma, proved that Earth orbited the sun. We have known, comma, for hundreds of years now, comma, that the Earth and other planets exist in a solar system. Commas in dates, addresses, greetings, closings of letters. You also use commas when you write the date, such as in cover letters and emails. Commas are used when you write the date, when you include an address, and when you greet someone. If you are writing out the full date, add a comma after the day before the year. You do not need to add a comma when you write the month and day or when you write the month and year. If you need to continue the sentence after you add a date that includes the day and year, add a comma after the end of the date. The letter is postmarked May 4th, 2001. Her birthday is May 5th. He visited the country in July 2009. I registered for the conference on March 7th, 2010, so we should get our tickets soon. You also use commas when you include addresses and locations. When you include an address in a sentence, be sure to place the comma after the street and after the city. Do not place a comma between the state and the zip code. Like a date, if you need to continue the sentence after adding the address, simply add a comma after the address. we moved to 4542 Box Cutter Lane, Hope, Missouri 70832. After moving to Boston, Massachusetts, Eric used public transportation to get to work. Greetings are also separated by commas. So when you write an email or letter, you add a comma after the greeting word or the person's name. You also need to include a comma after the closing, which is the word or phrase you use before your signature. Hello, I would like more information about your job posting. Thank you, Anita. Dear Sir, thank you for your letter. Please read the attached document for details. Sincerely, Jack Fromont. On your own, and this one is a key takeaways. Punctuation marks provide visual clues to readers to tell them how to read a sentence. Punctuation marks convey meaning. Commas indicate a pause on or a list in a sentence. A comma should be used after an introductory word to separate the word from the main sentence. A comma comes after each noun in a list. The word "and" is added before the last noun, which is not followed by a comma. A comma comes after every coordinating adjective except for the last adjective. Commas can be used to separate the two independent clauses in a compound sentence as long as a conjunction follows the comma. Commas are used to separate interrupting words from the rest of the sentence. When you write the date, you add a comma between the day and the year. You also add a comma after the year if the sentence continues after the date. When they are used in a sentence, addresses have commas after the street address and the city. If a sentence continues after the address, a comma comes after the zip code. When you write a letter, you use commas in your greeting at the beginning and in your closing at the end of your letter. And so if you like this video, feel free to subscribe to the Professor H Writing channel. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at any time.